I'm going to hesitate to say this is the only great piece of advice I got, but I've given this piece of advice to a lot of people in business setting. And an older guy that when I joined IBM in the 1980s said, look, my advice to younger folks is to spend about 90% of your time on your job and 10% on your career. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he said, look, if you spend 100% on your job, you're going to do a really good job at the job you're in, but nobody's ever going to see you moving beyond that job because you aren't making connections. You're not thinking beyond it. Where do you go next? On the other hand, if you drop it to like 80-20, spend 80% on your job and 20% run around your career, you're not going to do a good enough job. You're only putting 80%. So he's like, the right balance is put most all of your energy, 90-ish plus percent, into doing a great job with where you're at, but you always want to reserve like 10% of your capacity, make connections, learn about what it takes to go to the next level. How do I become an entrepreneur if I've never been an entrepreneur? How do I get into that industry if I'm in another industry? You're always thinking about stretching and growing, but that's about 10%. And if you keep that balance, I think that's a really healthy piece of advice.